Nintendo has a long history of dropping legendary new franchises alongside their consoles. In fact, every major Nintendo system has introduced at least one brand new IP. Whether it was Mario and Zelda kicking things off on the NES, Pikmin on the GameCube, Splatoon on the Wii U, or even more recently games like Astral Chain on the Switch. And with the Switch 2 on the horizon, history tells us we're due for something big. But this time, it might not just be another new Nintendo franchise, it might be their most ambitious new IP yet. With reports suggesting that the Switch 2 is the most powerful Nintendo console ever, we could be looking at a Nintendo game on a scale we've never seen before. Think Red Dead Redemption 2 level world building, Ghost of Tsushima level graphics, but with Nintendo's signature innovation and gameplay first design. This could be the game that redefines how the gaming industry thinks about Nintendo once again. Let's take a quick journey through Nintendo's past with a little history lesson to prove that getting a new IP for the Switch 2 isn't just some random guesswork by me. As I already mentioned, every major Nintendo console has seen the birth of at least one major new IP. We kicked things off in the 80s with the NES. The NES exploded with titles like Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Metroid. This era and these games are what helped establish Nintendo as a powerhouse of innovation in the gaming industry. We move on to the 90s with the SNES. The SNES introduced us to Star Fox and F-Zero, and I know it's technically a spin-off, but we have to mention Super Mario Kart here. All these games continued to push the boundaries of gaming. Then we move to the later 90s, more so the mid-90s, with the N64, which the N64 gave birth to Animal Crossing, granted at this time only for Japanese audiences, but it also gave birth to, once again, I know it's a spin-off, but Super Smash Bros., we have to mention it. Then we move on to the 2000s with the GameCube. In the GameCube, we saw the launch of Pikmin and the wider international release of Animal Crossing, which helped expand what the franchise was and what it became to be even more recently. I mean, New Horizons is one of the best-selling Switch games. Then we move on to the mid-2000s with the Wii, which the Wii brought the era of Wii Sports. I don't know if we should even call it like the Wii Sports IP anymore. Is it just a sports IP because there's a Switch Sports now? Regardless, you get the idea. And it also brought a surprisingly ambitious new RPG with Xenoblade Chronicles, showing that Nintendo wasn't afraid to innovate or move into new niches. Then we move on to the Wii U in 2012, and despite its console struggles, the Wii U still produced a banger franchise in Splatoon. Splatoon is one of the bigger Nintendo franchises now. It's blossomed into something I didn't even think it would become at the time that Splatoon came out. And then most recently, we move into 2017 with the Switch, which we saw the launch of 3 new IPs being ARMS, Astral Chain, and Ring Fit Adventure. Granted, not a lot of these had super mainstream success. I don't really think any of them actually had super mainstream success, but ARMS was a really unique title, in my opinion. It showed, once again, Nintendo wasn't afraid to innovate. But Astral Chain, honestly, if you haven't played it, it's a really good play, and I think that was a really great IP. The point being here is that the lesson is that every new console has a tradition of welcoming a brand new experience. So with the Switch 2, we should absolutely expect a big new IP. I mean, even on the handhelds, Nintendo constantly continues to innovate. I mean, you go to the DS with Nintendogs, the 3DS with Tomodachi Life. Nintendo always just tries to innovate, and we can fully expect a brand new IP on this console. The next piece of the puzzle we have to talk about is the technology. Now, there's no denying that the original Switch was a marvel of portable gaming, and it really took the gaming world by storm and redefined what gaming could be, in my opinion. I mean, we went from playing games on our TV, and in a matter of seconds, we could take our Switch off the dock and take those same games on the go. It's still mind-blowing, to be honestly. But as we approach the end of the Switch's life cycle, we have to admit that the industry standards have definitely shifted a little bit. Which brings us to the Switch 2. Now, the Switch 2 is a console that is rumored to pack features like DLSS upscaling, a modern NVIDIA GPU, and improved processing power beyond the Switch that will be able to support AAA level visuals. Now, from what we've heard, the Switch 2 is about, in terms of power and processing power, about as powerful as a PS4 Pro. But on top of that, the Switch 2 is more than 10 times more powerful than the original Switch. Now, with this leap in hardware, it shows us that Nintendo isn't just catching up, they're poised to redefine what a Nintendo game can look like. As I already said, imagine a world as richly detailed as the environments in Ghost of Tsushima, but with the creativity and charm that only Nintendo can deliver. This new technical freedom will mean that developers can experiment with more immersive worlds, more intricate storytelling, and more dynamic gameplay mechanics. Now, this change in hardware isn't about Nintendo abandoning their roots of being, always thought of the company and the consoles that are a little bit less powerful but have the games kind of make up for it. I would say it's rather about Nintendo expanding their canvas. It's showing that the Switch 2 can empower Nintendo to create a game that both feels fresh and visually groundbreaking, but it can really compete with the top tier titles that we see today that really Nintendo always kind of becomes an afterthought when we think of these top tier titles. I really feel like Nintendo's trying to step in and become the top dog. Now let's have some fun and speculate on what this new IP for the Switch 2 might be. Now I came up with 3 exciting possibilities. I kind of based them around Nintendo's history, the franchises we already have, the games we already have, and coupled that with the capabilities of the Switch 2's hardware to come up with these 3 exciting possibilities. But with these type of things, there's always infinite possibilities. Nintendo could move in an entirely different direction than what I'm thinking right now. But the first one I'm thinking of is a massive open world action RPG. I would love to see Nintendo's take on this. I imagine something that blends the exploration of games like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, but couples that with a more intricate combat system, kind of akin to Elden Ring. I don't think the difficulty has to be there in terms of being as difficult as Elden Ring, but I think that this type of title is definitely a possibility. I even think that Zelda could evolve as a franchise to kind of being this style of game. I don't know if that's how Nintendo feels, but I definitely would just, in general, love to see this style of game from Nintendo because they're becoming ever more popular in recent years, games of this style, and I would love to see Nintendo's kind of twist on this genre. Then we move on to my number 2, which is a cinematic action-adventure game. I picture a narrative-driven cinematic experience in the Nintendo style, kind of akin to The Last of Us or God of War, but like I said, with Nintendo's kind of charm and twist that only Nintendo can do. We'll get more memorable characters, we'll get some great emotional storytelling, and then we'll get to see these innovative gaming mechanics that the Switch 2's hardware would allow. I think that this is the type of title that could challenge the conventions of the genre of a cinematic action adventure while remaining a very accessible title for Nintendo fans. Then we move on to my number 3, which I definitely think would be the least likely of the 3 here, which would be a dark sci-fi or horror thriller type of experience. I don't really think, in my opinion, that Nintendo has any desire to explore the darker side of storytelling in a really immersive way. It really doesn't fit into their branding or their company and the way they style their games, but still I'd love to see them do it. I would love to see them venture into a sci-fi or horror thriller, even though I'm not even the biggest fan of horror thrillers. That's how big of a Nintendo fan I am. If Nintendo did it, I would absolutely give it a try. Like I said, I think this would be a pretty bold risk for Nintendo. It's really not a market that kind of, in my opinion, suits the majority of their fans. But I think it could pay off because of the way that Nintendo could, I think, kind of innovate in terms of storytelling and innovation of gameplay mechanics in this genre. I kind of always imagined this, if Nintendo would do it, kind of blending the atmospheric tension of Resident Evil, but with kind of creative gameplay mechanics that only Nintendo can think of. Regardless, like I said, I really don't think this is definitely something that they would do, but I just had to include it because it's kind of like a personal thing that I would love to see Nintendo do this genre and this style of game. It'd be off base, like I said, but I would love to see it. But those are my 3 kind of titles that I think are genres that I think Nintendo could really go with this new IP. As I already said in the beginning of this segment, the possibilities are endless here. The point being is that whatever direction they choose, the core idea here is that this new IP won't just be a spin-off or a side project. It could be a genre-defining title that challenges our preconceptions of what Nintendo games can be. Now let's zoom out for a moment and address this question. If Nintendo were to release an IP of this magnitude, what would it mean for the company, or even the gaming industry at large? Now, I think there's really 4 things here to discuss that would kind of be impacted if Nintendo were to make an IP as innovative as I think they're going to make. First being that this is an IP that would reinvent the Nintendo brand. Now, Nintendo has long been seen as this more family-friendly but still innovative force within the gaming industry, but I think a new IP of this magnitude that pushes the envelope in terms of visuals and narrative depth in a genre could truly reshape their identity. It would position them as not only a pioneer of gameplay innovation that they've always been, but also as a true competitor in the AAA space. Secondly, I think that whatever genre this new IP takes place in for Nintendo, I think it would genuinely innovate the genre. Just as Breath of the Wild pretty much innovated open world design in gaming, I think that an IP of this magnitude would set new standards for its genre, whether it's redefining RPGs or action adventures or even horror, like I discussed, even though I don't think that's really a big possibility. The point being that a successful title here probably would inspire countless developers to think bigger and bolder in that genre. Next, I think that this kind of game would pretty much just cause market expansion for Nintendo. I know it's more of a boring thing to talk about, but you have to think, with the gaming landscape being an ever-evolving thing, and audiences are always hungry for new experiences that kind of blend these high-end graphics with creative, engaging gameplay, Nintendo taking a leap into this territory would not just attract longtime fans, but probably a broader, more diverse audience than they've ever seen before. Lastly, I think launching a new IP of this magnitude would be kind of a risk/reward move for Nintendo. Launching a new IP in the gaming industry is always a gamble. You have to create new characters, a new universe, so there's generally a lot of risk involved, but Nintendo has this history of launching innovative titles and launching innovative franchises, and it shows that they're willing to take the risks. And I think with the Switch 2's enhanced capabilities and hardware, the potential rewards versus the amount of risk kind of to take to get there would be kind of an astronomical turnaround, which is why I think that this is really going to be a new innovative IP for Nintendo. It's because of these 4 big areas for potential impact for Nintendo and the gaming industry at large if they were to release an IP of this magnitude, that I don't think this can be just watered down to another game launch or another IP launch for Nintendo. It's a potential revolutionary moment for the gaming industry that, like I said, could alter the way we perceive Nintendo and, by extension, the gaming industry at large. In sum, the evidence is all around us. As I already mentioned a couple times throughout this video, every Nintendo console has seen a new IP, and the technical leap of the Switch 2 gives us every reason to believe that Nintendo's next franchise will be their most ambitious yet. Whether it's an expansive RPG, a cinematic adventure, or a daring foray into darker storytelling, this game has the potential to redefine not only Nintendo, but the gaming landscape as a whole. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What type of game do you think Nintendo should create with the Switch 2 and this hardware they have at their disposal? And along with that, what genre do you predict that game will be and will it revolutionize that genre? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this kind of deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications so you never miss an update on the latest Nintendo news, theories, or any other types of my content you guys like to enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.